guys, welcome back to the Strike Twice podcast. I think we're a week, maybe 2 weeks late even on episode number 10. But as you can tell, it's St. Patrick's Day and this is like our Christmas. So we're all decked out in our St. Patrick's Day stuff. I'm with Trey, Ray. We're still doing this virtual thing. Trey's cracking up a cold one. I got a bite. I'm sure Ray has some tea. So, Trey, what are you drinking?
Hey, I mean, tea's very Irish.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm part of, the culture, I feel like.
What kind of tea do you got going?
Straight up black tea. It's actually Irish though. Good
Oh,
old berries tea. It's-
better man than me. I
yeah.
just went with the. I don't know. I was drawn to the green label. I went with the Bud Light limes.
I
Yeah,
was well, I was thinking of like getting a Guinness for this, but then I just didn't.
I should
Just
have.
yeah, kind of like, yeah, I'll wait until this weekend.
We'll have one when I'm back for St. Patty's Day.
Cool.
the podcast is going through budget cuts. We can't afford bigger beer like Guinness.
Honestly, for me, it's more of the it's so much better in Ireland. So ever since I came back, I was like, oh, it's not the same.
So on that note, do they celebrate St. Patrick's Day in Ireland, or is it just like obviously that might sound like a stupid question, but do they celebrate it as much as they do in Butte and Anaconda, Montana, or is it similar? Is it different?
It's a little of both. Like, uh, this is just my take. So, like, for where I was, but it's like it starts out as like a all family. It's like a family holiday for most of the day. Like, you just kind of get together with your family at breakfast, go to mass, and just kind of have like a huge, get together. And then, yeah, the parades are the same, but not like I feel like Butte just takes it to like a level where it's just like, oh, we're just gonna get hammered, like just it's very intense. Like where I was at, it just was like another day. Everywhere was closed, so everybody was definitely out like at the pubs and whatnot, but it didn't get crazy. And so I mean, over there was a few people who were aware of Butte as, a place to go for St. Patrick's Day celebrations. I remember them telling like just people they were saying that we do things that are like they kind of like, why do you do that? Like, well, why is it like why do you pitch somebody? Like if you don't have green on or whatever it is.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like I didn't go to Dublin for it, so I know they have like a huge celebration. I I don't know what that's like. So I would imagine that would still be kind of like the top tier for St. Patty's Day stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, it just seems like America, like we celebrate all these holidays from other countries and other cultures, but we do it in such a different way that it almost like takes away from their original holiday, and we just Americanize everything and make it our own thing. Where it's like, oh, obviously Fourth of July is our own holiday, but it's like that's an excuse to drink.
Hmm.
Patrick's Day, oh, the Ireland, hell yeah, I'll drink to that. Like we just pick
Yeah.
different holidays and just Americanize them. So it's kind of interesting to hear how they do it over there. So um,
Yeah. Like it was honestly just like ended up being like another night out. Like it was crowded, don't get me wrong, but like it just I don't know. I just maybe I got used to this like concept of like going out and like Anaconda and Butte, and it's just like a lot sometimes. So
yeah.
yeah.
So we're gonna come back to St. Patrick's Day in a little bit. We're gonna go to our warm up lap, and our warm up lap's fairly short, but I wanted to bring this to you guys. I was gonna tell you, Trey, but I wanted to save for the podcast. I was talking. I think our last episode that I bought a pair of Clifton Eights. I was super excited about them, but I got scammed on them. So I found a sketchy Chinese website for selling hokas for like $50. And I was like, okay, well, I can make this work. I can buy like 3 pairs at a time for the price of Hoka's from Hoka or at a running store or something. So I was like, if I'm out $50, this is totally worth it. This is an investment. This might work out. It's me throwing $50 on the blackjack table, showing a two, and I mean, I just sent it, and I call this the Hoka hoax. These are the Hoka hoaxes. Um, I got scammed, and I it took me about a week to figure it out, but on run like number 5, 6, 7, they hurt my feet so damn bad that I was like, these are not real. These cannot be real. So I immediately bought a pair of Clifton Mach 5s and was like, it was night and day difference. Like, I was like, I'll give them a shot. They look good. I held them up. I have the exact same pair. Like, this is an older one. This is a newer one. Like, they're, they look the exact same, but looks can be deceiving. So, my the moral of that story is don't buy from a Chinese sketchy website. I feel like most people know that, but this is just me learning that lesson for you, and uh, so don't do it. What I mean, give me your thoughts, guys. Obviously, that was kind of a dumb mistake.
What was it? The AliExpress?
Well, it happened to
That's
be the same website that I got all my sketchy real NBA jerseys from.
ah, uh-huh.
And they got pretty good jerseys, but shoes, they haven't figured that one out yet. So,
See, and I've been tempted, like, so we were just talking about it before we started recording with the van. Like, my van, for those people that don't know, is imported from Japan, and so the parts are kind of a pain in the ass to get from time to time. And there is a huge population of them condensed, like in the Philippines. And so when I'd be looking for parts, the reason I asked is because they would always take me to like AliExpress or whatever that site is. And it would just be some like sketchy dudes like, you want to buy a whole engine for like 1,500 bucks? He's like, yeah, I'll ship it. And you're just like, ugh. I mean, I do, but I don't. Like, I don't. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna stick to the $50 Hokas. This is about the max that I'll go on one of those sites. I don't think I'm gonna buy a whole engine from the Philippines. So I don't know. Your story has inspired me to stay true to my original thought of not buying a whole engine over the internet.
uh, like I said, I'm learning this lesson for you and for the viewers because it is so tempting with sites like Temu and the TikTok shop. And the site that I've used for my jerseys is DHgate. It's just like Temu. I've gotten some, I don't know if they're fake or real. They're might as well be real jerseys. They look great. They're cheap. You can get jerseys for really cheap, but they're not they're not in the shoe game. So I immediately went and bought 2 pairs of actual Hokas from Hoka, and my feet were very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is I see a lot of scams just because of my the industry I work in. So yeah, maybe I always shop like directly to the website anymore what I want for the most part because we see a lot of scams, unfortunately, especially when it comes to like a foreign country type thing that pops up.
You just see the horror stories coming through the post office every day.
Yeah, like I mean, at least once a week where something's there, like, yeah, this is a scam.
Ray,
No.
I was gonna call you. Um, I got scolded at the post office here in Denver. I had a letter that I had to sign for,
Yeah.
so they just leave you the little slip, that says like whatever,
Like,
blah blah. But
yeah.
it doesn't. It just says like you can come to the post office and claim your letter and just sign for it. It does not say anywhere on the slip. It doesn't say anywhere on there. I read it twice. The slip that they gave me does not say that I have to bring the slip to get the letter. So I show up, I drive all the way there, and I'm like in line, and I get up there, and so I give the lady, I'm like, yeah, I need, I got to sign for this, whatever. And she's like, where's the slip? And I was like, it didn't say to bring it. I just thought the name on the letter matching my ID and face would be enough. Like I thought that would be enough to make it happen. And she just
Yeah.
looked at me. She was like, "You got to bring the slip." And then I just kind of looked at her, and I just didn't move, and I just kind of stared at her, and then she kind of started raising her voice at me, and I was like, I'm already here. I mean,
Yeah.
and then she just was like pissed. And then she let out, I would say, possibly the deepest sigh I have ever heard, like humanly possible. And she was just like, "Give me your ID." She just takes her ID and walks into the back room. She comes out like 10 minutes later and she was like, "Is it a letter or a package?" And I was like, "It's a letter. Like, that's what I said when I walked in. It's a
Yeah.
letter." And she was like, "I've been looking for a package this whole time." And she was so pissed. So I felt bad. Like, I felt bad. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, I thought both the name and the photo were going to be enough to just really drive home my point, but it was not. It was a painful process, and I felt bad in some ways, and all in other ways I was like, "Damn, this could have been over with about 10 minutes ago." But I did get the letter. That's a complete tangent, side note, but just talking about the post office, yeah.
I'm, I'm glad you got it at least. Yeah, those
You would have
notices.
been very disappointed in me. So it did not go to your standard, I don't believe. So
Yeah. No, they're kind of confusing. A lot of people get confused on them. I got a lot of people that text me like, "What do I do with this?" And they have like a photo. So yeah, they don't really say things. I get you.
Don't
but
don't get scammed.
yeah, total scam. The post office scam, total scam. That thing they gave me, total scam. It was just, yeah. They're working with the gas companies to just get you to drive all the way to the post office and drive back. You got to fill up on the way home. Total
Yeah,
scam.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I get these reminders because they're just sitting here. Like, what do I do with them now? Do I
I
just
put it up on the wall. I put like a little shelf, like a little shadow, or like a little shelf,
Yeah,
and yeah,
just
put a
just
little.
just as a reminder for my genius financial decisions? I should have went to the Rock and just turned that 50 into 200 like I usually do.
yeah, yeah.
That didn't work out for me so well. So I'm a little bit bummed, but I got, like I said, I got the Mach 5s and I got a pair of trail shoes that I'm much happier with. So the moral of the story is buy from Hoka, buy from an actual store. Don't fall victim to Timu and the TikTok shop and DH Gate. Don't do it. Don't do
Shoes, running shoes, especially shoes, man. You get what you pay for. You get what you pay for every single time. I've never had it work out. Not once has it worked out. I'm like, I got a steal on these, and then I'm
Yeah,
like, that was a horrible idea. I shouldn't have done that.
yeah.
I figured it was worth the $50 because if it would have panned out, man, I would be swimming in Hokas right now. But I'm swimming in a pair of fake Hokas right now. So that was my story about the Hoka hoaxes. I thought that was an appropriate name, but
Good.
Yeah,
It's good.
the the
that was
next
good.
the next part of the warm up lap is I found a running challenge that I'm going to attempt next weekend, and it comes from David Goggins. And David Goggins in general is just most human beings are here, and he's up here with most of his goals and aspirations, and just wicked physical challenge mentally as well. So the challenge that I'm going to be trying is the 4x4x48. And you guys are nodding your heads, so we've either talked about it before or you guys have heard about it. But for those of you that haven't heard about it, it's 48 hours total, and every 4 hours you run 4 miles. So midnight, 4 a.m., 8 a.m., noon, etc., etc. For 2 days straight, you get a total of 48 miles in 2 days. And I'm going to try that with my buddy Cole because he's a psychopathic runner. So I'm going to try it with him. But it's basically an ultra marathon, just in a different kind of broken up in a different way. Your sleep gets a little screwed up, your eating gets a little screwed up. So it'll be an interesting thing So I'm gonna attempt that next week. Do you think I'm crazy for trying that on somewhat minimal training?
No. I shouldn't say that because I don't know. I feel like challenges like that are just like, yeah, do it. Um, what are you doing that next weekend or during the weekdays? Just curious. Because
Weekend. I'm gonna start. I can't decide if I'm gonna start on the Friday or Saturday, but it'll be over the next weekend, March 15th, 16th, somewhere in there.
gotcha. Yeah. Well, where are you at actually, just with all your training that you are doing for your money, or however you say it?
Yeah, the Mahe. I'm hitting about 45 miles the last 4 or 5 weeks, so I feel like I've got a pretty good base actually. Um,
Yeah.
I figured out that my speed is like zero. Doing training for these longer events makes you so slow. So I actually did a speed workout on the track today and emphasized how slow I actually was. So I feel like I got a good base, so I think I should be able to do it. But yeah, the training's going well. I'm staying healthy, which is the biggest thing. And then trying to make the big mileage jump, and that's kind of what I thought with this 4x4x48 is a good a good bump in my mileage, which some people probably would advise against. But like you said, with any kind of challenge, it's exciting. It kind of switches things up, and so that's kind of why I'm doing it, as well as kind of get ready for that next bump in my mileage.
Yeah, I think it also gives you, uh, I mean, if that was like the event that you were going for, those gaps, provide a lot of like, I would say like kind of a, you know, uh, like help on the mental side where you can just kind of recoup, but also like, I think anyone who's ever done, kind of just a general amount of training when it comes to running is like the anticipation is what kills you. Once you actually start moving, your feet just keep falling in front of you. You know what I mean? Like if you just keep going. So it's like for that specifically, when you're trying to make that jump in mileage, it's like, you can go out and do a crazy 40-mile straight, try and go out and do a race where you're doing a, a big, technically an ultra, at that range. But doing it all in one go just destroys your body. Like in that cycle, it just kills you. And so I think there's like so many advantages when it's to that. I've never thought about that format, but that format gives you so much, like, because people will think like, oh, every 4 hours, like you're going to be so rested. And so like, that's so much time. And it's like the stopping and starting is the hardest thing to possibly do. Like, that's why intervals suck. So it's basically just doing 4 mile intervals for 2 days, and so that stopping and starting just gets like so your hips start to tighten up and your IT bands are like, I thought we were done with this. Like, I don't know what we're doing. So, but the good thing is that you can, I would say, like really, uh, in a healthy format, get a lot of miles in and get a really good jump, like a really good jump in. And worst case scenario, if something starts to happen or something starts to break down, you're not 15 miles into a trail run and you got to hobble your way back 15 miles. You didn't cut off 10 miles off the run. And now it just seems like a whole waste. It's no, I got, 30 miles of this into this thing or 32 miles into this thing. And then, my knee was going and I felt like health wise, it was probably not the best idea because I have a bigger goal in mind in the next couple of months. I got this great jump, super great lift in my base. We had a ton of fun doing it, especially with Cole. Like, I love Cole. He's just like, that kid is one of my, like, being able to coach him was just like such a pleasure because it's so funny. Like, he's like, so Ray, for reference, this kid is so he's usually like pretty quiet and just kind of he's very calculated is how I would put it. He's extremely calculated, and so he's in his head a lot of like he's figuring things out as it's happening. and he's kind of playing chess all the time. He's very calculated, so he's quiet in a lot of ways, but he always has these one-liners that just like they get you at the right time. And so when we went down for the marathon or for the half marathon when I was coaching him and Will, we were like, we're driving, and I'm like, damn, these streets are like so thin, you know. And we were talking about them getting a training run in, whatever. And Cole just like out of nowhere, out of the back seat, he just goes, "Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're already here. We could just say fuck it and center line the whole thing. Just talk like in center line, like run down the middle of the street." And like just it was just out of nowhere, and it caught me off guard so much. But it's like that's what I think about when I think of that kid. So um, I think doing that challenge with him is going to be mentally that's going to be fantastic because he's extremely motivated and such a good running partner and just a driven dude. Um, but you know, to make a short story long, like as I ramble about this, I think it does. I really do think it does like give you a lot of jump in your base without the risk of going on a 30-mile in the middle of nowhere trail run, and it just kind of is a great conditioning for your body to have to adjust to that and continuously be tight and then loosen itself back up, you know. So I don't know. That's my uneducated opinion, I would say, on that whole thing. I'm excited to hear how it goes.
Me too.
I think that was a really good take, and the more I think about it, you know, I think the way that David Goggins would want to do it is by myself in the cold, in the dark, you know, as intense as possible. I think he even does it with a weighted vest or something crazy, you know. But the ability to do that with somebody and have somebody that's able to do that, you know, I could get several people to run a couple legs with me or whatever, but I just sent him one text and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing a 4x4x48." And he's like, "I don't know what it is, but I'm in." Like running, okay, like I'm in. He wants to run far. He wants to run often. He's for context, we had him on a couple episodes ago. He's the record holder on the Maudhane Marathon. He ran like three, I don't know, 320, something like that. It's stupid record. It's awesome, and so that ability to have him as a tool is going to be great, and so it's going to be fun. And it'll be interesting to see how 4 a.m. on the second day is. I imagine that'll be a brutal couple legs there when it's dark and probably cold and our legs are starting to get heavy. But yeah, so we'll stay updated on that. I think we'll probably do one more episode before then, and we can maybe talk about it a little bit more and talk about my planning a little bit and see if I have any sort of nutrition plan. I don't at this point, but basically after every run, eat something and kind of
Yeah.
jet lag get that get rid of that jet lag from the previous run, and so that'll be the next challenge that I take on. We'll see. Um, but the meat of the episode is St. Patrick's Day. Um, Ray and I are going to be in Anaconda, Montana together. I'm headed back so we can run the St. Patrick's Day race. Trey can't make it this year, but Trey has been in Anaconda for St. Patrick's Day the last million years. It's part of his blood, so I'm sure he's very sad that he's not going to make it, but he will make it back for the official St. Patrick's Day holiday. He's just not making it back for the race. So he will make an appearance, I promise, for you and Butte and Anaconda that are looking forward to some bagpipes. He will be there, I promise. And we got some, I see in the background of Ray's screen there, he's got a plaque from St. Patrick's Day. He won it one year. I won it one year. Trey's always been there. He was the one that got me interested in it, and some of the guys from Dickinson State we would always go for spring break. So it's become this tradition to run this race and just go back and have a good time in Anaconda. So I'm kind of gonna push it to you two as the Anaconda natives. Tell me all about St. Patrick's Day in Anaconda. Talk about the AOH. Talk about the race. Whatever you guys feel is important that the viewers got to know about this weekend coming up in Anaconda.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the AOH, like I'm gonna push that to you, Trey. You're a little bit more involved in that than me. But I guess I'll just start with it being St. Patrick's Day race has always been like the first race of the year for me, essentially, because it's, seems to be always like the weekend before St. Patrick, the actual, holiday. And it used to be kind of like the race of the year where you get, Anaconda, Butte, Missoula, and Bozeman would come to Anaconda for that weekend for that race. And I don't even really know when it started. I don't know if I was thinking about it earlier. I've never thought about that. I don't know if that's something Trey. But in my mind, I feel like there's always been the St. Patrick's Day race. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no clue. Like, it's in my mind, it's like, yeah, it's always been there. Like, I've
Yeah,
never, I couldn't remember a time that it wasn't there. So I don't.
yeah,
It's evolved a lot. It's changed a lot, and the course has changed. And you know, I will say, like, so Hunter brought up. I kind of hooked the guys into running it a couple of times, and my probably my favorite year of running it, and it was we brought back the entire varsity. It was our top eight. We ran all of our top eight guys from Dickinson. We wore our full jerseys and everything, and I remember we like got to the starting line, and some guy kept asking us like if we were gonna run. Like, oh, do you think you'll be there before like 18 minutes? Because I'll be down there taking pictures. And we were like, if we're not there by 18 minutes, what the fuck? Like, yeah, something has gone horribly wrong. Like, and he was like, he had like made a comment. He's like, oh, like, sound pretty confident. And it's like, no, I'm not like overconfident. It's just that like, there's no way. And it's not because we're like this crazy fast, amazing team or whatever, but like, there wasn't one of us that was running, over 16:30 for a 5K at that time, even close. But disregard all of that. The old course, that race was downhill the whole way. Like,
yeah.
it was like land speed record fast. Like, I miss that course so much. And so that day, there's all eight of us. We got our jerseys on and we go out and we're doing our thing. Like, we're in our huddle, we're doing our pre-race thing. And one of the guys just goes, fuck, we better win this thing or we're gonna look like such assholes. so we just were like, all right, let's do it. And we go out and I just kept warning everybody. I was the only person that had run it by that point. And I was like, guys, I promise you, the first mile is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, dude. I'm telling you, like, we gotta chill. We gotta chill. This first mile is insane. And of course, you get eight guys together. We're on a team. We're competitive. We went through the mile together. We went through the mile, eight guys in like a 2 second span. We were in a group and we went through the mile and we were sub five. We were like 450s. A couple of the guys were 440s, like 440s high. And everyone looked at their watches and all the guys were just like, whoa. And I was like, I told you, dude. Like, I was like, I told you. Like, and of course I'm like yelling from the back because I'm like hanging on. Like, I'm like, I fucking told you, dude. So
Yeah.
we went through and I think our 1 through 7 we were sub 16 and we had one guy that was like 16-0 or something like that. And like we all the guys were like, that was awesome, like whatever. And then I like show him, I'm like, you guys realize how downhill the entire thing is. And like, no, just let us have it. Just let us have it. Like, we're just
Yeah.
so it's the funniest, like, I don't know. I always have the fondest memories of that race. Like, I have, it's got a special place in my heart for a lot of reasons. And
Hey, just
um,
just a side note, that team made the front page of the Anaconda newspaper.
that is, yes, that is true. I still have that cut out. It's on my grandma's fridge. She was so excited about it. My grandma bought like 5 newspapers and cut it out, and she hung them up all over. She was so excited about it.
It,
I
it,
But
was
it was kind of like if a college team dueled a junior high. Um, it's what it was, and it was probably not legal for us to compete in that and win awards and stuff. Whatever, we don't care. But it was quite the showing from a college men's team. We'll just
we we felt really, we were on a real high note. All right, we felt really good about it, and it was like, okay, like some of my friends, like, and they walk the race every year. They like drag a wagon full of like beers and jello shots and stuff. Like, that's what the race is really about. Like that's like 99% of the racers. Like that's what happens. So for us to come in and be like, oh yeah, like pumped about it. It's like, dude, we were running against nobody. Like, and it's not because the other people were like, there's actually been some really amazing runners to get like to go to the race and like St. the St. Patty's Day race in Anaconda always gets some dudes and some ladies out there out of nowhere. Like
Mhm.
they just roll in and they're like, sure, I'll go absolutely fuck this thing up. Like so it's it just cracks me up, but it's like we just had this. I don't think I did a good job of conveying what the race really was to the rest of the guys beforehand because the way it went like the way it went down, it was like, oh, all right, well, we did that, but afterwards I remember we were all standing around afterwards just drinking beers, hanging out, and we were like, this is what we were actually here for. So it's yeah.
It's
That
it's it's funny because I'm just having this moment of because I was there. You like I mean like I was doing the 10K though, but like it's just interesting. Like I'm like, oh, that's funny because like Hunter, like I didn't know you then, but I was there. Like I remember seeing, like, oh, what are they doing? Like just this group of cross country kids, look like, but
group of assholes, dude.
yeah, no, no, I saw I think it was just after because I was, you know, still running when when you finished. I was a few miles behind, but yeah, what you're saying though that course was the best because even people knew it too. Like it was kind of advertised as like it's a fast course, like it's a good warm up for the year, but it's fast. Like it's and now, I mean, there's been some pretty crappy years with weather, but I feel like there's just been so many odd years where that St. Patrick's Day weekend comes around and it's just beautiful weather. Just like that day is like best for running. Like I'm not
Last
knocking all the wood right now, but like even this weekend, like it's supposed to be like 48 degrees and like it's perfect.
Well, yeah, no, like last year, I think it was in the 50s or something. Like it was crazy nice, 40s or 50s. Like it was super nice, and
Yeah, because
that
last year, I mean, I remember because the Friday before was like crazy windy and it snowed, so
Mm.
like just ice everywhere. And I was like, oh, this race is gonna suck tomorrow. It's gonna be so icy. It
oh
warmed up so good that next day, but I wore my ice cleats, and there was like maybe the first 100 meters like on Front Street that was actually icy. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm the only one with ice cleats. Like I was like, I made the best decision, and then that failed
but
miserably.
you also had a guy that I think the ice cleats, even though it wasn't icy, I think they worked out for you because I think mentally you totally broke that guy. That
I
like
did.
he came up to you after and he was like,
Yeah.
I just heard those fucking ice cleats, the whole just click 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 the whole race, and
Yeah.
then it was just like, oh bye. Like I was like, oh no, like
I
oh
have to tell you this quick little story because it just happened like 2 nights ago. I'll make it kind of short. My brother-in-law at the brewery in Phillipsburg meets this guy and he's from Scotland. So he's talking to this dude. He's like, why are you here in, Montana? He comes here, family, blah, blah, blah. But he always comes and does the St. Patrick's Day race. And so Bubba's starting to learn this, like, oh, cool. And this guy's like, yeah, I'm out for revenge this year. And, Bubba's like, oh, what? He's like, I led 5.5 miles of that race last year. And there's this guy, just I heard him the entire time. And he's Scottish too. So he's all like that CUNT. Like, I guess that's just the way he was talking. And then, you know, Bubba's like, oh, like joking, like, oh, was it Ray Laslovich? And the guy's like, yes. Like, I've been looking for his name and he hasn't signed up yet for this year. He's like, I'm waiting. I was like, oh, that's kind of hilarious. Like that. I'm like, well, so he'll be here, but
yeah, that
you know,
it's I
mm,
don't know. I'd say like we didn't really have like a format for this episode. It was just kind of, like let's just talk about the race and kind of what it means to but I just think it means so much to Anaconda as a whole. It just is so And like talking about the AOH and stuff before, that's the organization that puts it on. Like I'm a part of the AOH, have been for quite a few years now. But if you asked any of the guys, they'd be like, terrible member, because I don't live there ever. So I just pay for my membership and then I'm gone for the whole year. I haven't made it to a meeting in like 5 years, like because I don't live there ever. I'm never home, and so uh, so it's always I try to get back the week before to help out with stuff if I can, but it's not, like guys like, Pete Lorello and Joe Casey always does a ton. Joe Casey always does a ton for the race itself, just getting the race going and make sure the race is put on. And um, they're always doing shirts. And I know I'm going to, leave people out and forget people, but another huge one that, you don't really think about, but is just the impact of the race and the impact of what it does for Anaconda. Joe Mearns has been kind of heading up a food drive that it coincides with the race. And last year was the biggest year by an insane margin. It was an insane margin. And, they were taking truckloads of food. They were filling up the bed of his truck to take it to the food pantry, to the food bank in Anaconda and stuff. So it's it's like so much more than just the race and all the funny stories and stuff. It's such a huge part of what Anaconda does, kind of in all the events they do, and so it's just kind of a blessing and pretty amazing to just be any part of it, whether you're running it or watching it or whatever. It's just such a cool thing. And I always remember, like I said, um, that race always has a special place in my heart because after my brother had passed away, the whole cross country team, and a bunch of people that had graduated, and I know like Ray was there as well, and like, but we had a bunch of shirts made up, and there probably had to be 30 plus people wearing them.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
and there's a huge group of us that ran in those shirts every year. But the first year it was like, the cross country coach and his wife and their whole family and all the team and everybody wore the shirts and did the race. And um, I remember they put that in the paper too, just talking about um, kind of where the race meets the community and what that does. And so um, I think that having it always be, run by people who live in Anaconda and care about Anaconda and are connected to each other, and um, it always finds a way to be much bigger than just a race. There's always something really amazing connected to it um, that is just cool to be a part of. So I love that race. It's got a special place in my heart, and I love that everybody that comes and does it just falls in love with it too. So yeah, it's breaking my heart thinking that I'm not going to be back this year. So um, but anyway, that's that's my tangent on the race. I love that thing. So yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. I didn't know you had that connection with your brother and the t-shirts and stuff. That's really cool because I've seen you wear that shirt all the way through college. That's the same one, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, the Run for DJ shirt. So I've seen you wear that for years and years and years. So that's a really cool way to connect all that and to kind of connect this back to an episode we talked about a couple probably a month or so ago now was they were complaining about the UTMB races and over commercialization and making races more of a business instead of about what it's supposed to be about, which is the runners and the community. Then you look at the exact opposite of that in the Anaconda AOH St. Patrick's Day run. It is for the community. It's by the community. It's a really good time just to share those memories with people as well as you're doing it for a good cause and the food drive and all that too. So it kind of able to tie everything back together and that's why we run. That's why all of us run. That's why all of us are involved in the community. That's why all of us have a tie to Anaconda. I grew up in high school, and Anaconda was our rivals. I competed against Trey in high school, but through my experience through the race for the several years that I ran it, alongside Trey. It has become a special part of my heart. I'm traveling 500 miles to go uh, run the 3 mile. So it's definitely such a cool little event and kind of a hidden gem, you could say, in Anaconda. And you guys were touching on the weather. My two experiences with the weather is it was cold both years when I was in college, and the second that I ran it, there was like 5 feet of snow on the ground. So you never know what you're going to get in Anaconda in March. So I'm happy to hear that the weather's good there because it is very snowy here and cold. So I'm looking forward to some mild weather and good race conditions.
Yeah, it's true. You never really know. Because just even a few years ago, it was like 50-mile-per-hour winds, I swear. Like it was just a miserable time to be running in it. But it's supposed to be like, I mean, it's been cold all week, windy and cold, but it's supposed to change tomorrow. Be like low 40s, so be pretty perfect for running in the morning.
I'd say so. Ray, I can't wait to see you this weekend. Trey, I'm bummed that you're not going to be there. I know you'll be there in spirit. I'll probably be hanging out with your mom and your family and your grandma. So uh,
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll see the Smollicks around there somewhere. So guys, this was kind of all we had for our St. Patrick's Day episode. It was more of us just telling about one of our favorite races that we've all ran together. It's technically the only race that all three of us have ran. So that's one thing that can tie us all together. So that was about it. Do you guys have any other final thoughts on St. Patrick's Day or the race or anything like that?
No, I feel like we hit it all. I mean, there's probably a lot more, but it was a good,
Yeah.
it was a good, start.
Yeah, I got some thoughts on St. Patrick's Day, but we'll just do a recap episode after that week, and it'll probably be a lot different than this than this episode. It's
Yeah,
always it's a long weekend, so
yeah. There's always the before St. Patrick's Day and the after St. Patrick's Day. And what's unique about Butte and Anaconda St. Patrick's Day is Anaconda celebrates a week early, traditionally. So it's like the kickoff to a week long celebration of St. Patrick's Day that transitions from Anaconda to Butte. And by the end of the week, most of the area is running on fumes. And they've seen the highs and lows of St. Patrick's Day. So it's kind of a wild time. Butte, like we said, takes St. Patrick's Day to a whole nother level. And again, we'll probably talk a little bit about that in the next episode, which will be the aftermath of St. Patrick's Day.
so to your point there, just as soon as you said that, it clicked into my head. But uh, so what you're saying about how kind of Anaconda starts it the week before, essentially what happens is the race kicks that off on Saturday. Sunday at the AOH, they do corned beef and they just kind of have a party, and the dancers, the Irish dancers, they all dance, the pipers play, and the drinkers drink, and so it's just, but it's called the Kaylee, and that actually stemmed from the Kaylee. Really didn't happen at the AOH very often, or it wasn't a part of the AOH for a very long time. It happened because one week before St. Patrick's Day, basically the weekend prior to St. Patrick's Day, there's this great couple that were members of the AOH and just fantastic, fantastic people in Anaconda. And they would throw this kickoff to St. Patty's Day. And we always, still to this day, a lot of us call it High Holy Week. And so the High Holy Week, starts from the weekend before. It's the Sunday before, leading into the week of St. Patrick's Day. And it started out as a party at their house, and then that party became the main floor and then the basement, and then that party was the main floor and the basement and the front yard, and then it was the backyard. And pretty soon this party was there was a keg in the front lawn, a keg in the back lawn, there was the whole house, and then there's this huge field behind, and it was just this insane kickoff. So they would they would buy a bottle a week. They would buy a bottle of liquor a week every week leading up to the party, and then I think they would like match it, like I'll double it leading into it, and it was just this crazy, crazy party. And when they got to the point when they were too old to be doing that at the house. It transitioned to being at the hall at the AOH, and that's where the Kaylee really came from, at the hall, and why it happens on Sunday right after the race, the day after the race. But yeah, the guys, we always call it High Holy Week, and it is, oof, it's yeah, it's the start of a long week, but yeah, it's a great relationship that we get to have with Butte, where we kind of have this fun rivalry, but also everybody ends up coming together in the end, and it's an absolute, I would say, crapshoot. But it's yeah, I think the recap will be good.
I am looking forward to it. We'll probably have, I don't know if we'll do an episode next week. We'll be kind of right in the middle of the St. Patrick's Day. We'll see. Maybe we'll do it a little earlier in the week. I don't know. But we'll probably get you an update before St. Patrick's Day. If not, we will get the whole recap of the race. We'll get St. Patrick's Day, and we'll kind of after that hopefully get back on a more consistent schedule. But guys, thanks for tuning in. This was the Strike Twice Running podcast. I'm with Trey and Ray. Happy St. Patrick's Day in honor of Larry Bird and the Minnesota Wild and whatever Ray's got going on over there.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
See ya.